A black man saves baby elephant from black pumas in the jungle. What happens next will leave you speechless. A journey into the heart of the jungle. The Amazon rainforest was alive with the sounds of nature. The chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the distant calls of howler monkeys. The dense canopy above filtered the sunlight, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. It was a place of unparalleled beauty, but also of untold danger. For Kwame, a wildlife biologist from Ghana, this was his second home. He had spent years studying the intricate ecosystems of the jungle, but today his mission was personal. Kwame adjusted his backpack and tightened the straps of his boots. He had been tracking a herd of elephants for days, hoping to document their behavior for his research. But as he ventured deeper into the jungle, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The usual sounds of the forest seemed muted, as if the animals were holding their breath. Suddenly, a piercing trumpet shattered the silence. It was the sound of an elephant in distress. Kwame's heart raced as he broke into a run following the sound. He pushed through thick undergrowth, his machete slicing through vines and branches. What he found made his blood run cold. A baby elephant in peril. In a small clearing, a baby elephant was trapped in a shallow pit, its tiny trunk flailing as it struggled to climb out. But the pit wasn't the only danger. Circling the clearing were two black pumas, their sleek bodies moving with predatory grace. Their golden eyes gleamed with hunger as they closed in on the helpless calf. Kwame knew he had to act fast. Black pumas were rare and elusive, but they were also deadly. They wouldn't hesitate to attack the baby elephant, or him, if he got in their way. "Stay back," Kwame shouted, waving his arms to scare the pumas off. But the big cats didn't budge. They simply crouched lower, their muscles coiled like springs, ready to pounce. Kwame's mind raced. He had no weapons, no way to fight off the pumas. But he couldn't just stand there and watch the baby elephant die. He had to do something. The rescue, a dangerous gamble. Kwame grabbed a large stick from the ground and stepped into the clearing, his heart pounding in his chest. The pumas growled, their eyes narrowing as they focused on him. But Kwame didn't back down. He swung the stick in wide arcs, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Get out of here! Go!" For a moment, it seemed like the pumas might retreat. But then, one of them lunged at him, its claws slashing through the air. Kwame swung the stick with all his might, striking the puma on the side of the head. The big cat let out a yowl of pain and backed off. But the other puma was already moving in. Kwame knew he couldn't keep this up for long. He had to get the baby elephant out of the pit, and fast. He dropped the stick and ran to the edge of the pit, grabbing the calf by its trunk. The elephant let out a frightened squeal, but Kwame didn't let go. "Come on, little one," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I've got you." With a grunt of effort, Kwame pulled the baby elephant out of the pit. The calf stumbled to its feet, its legs wobbling like jelly. But there was no time to celebrate. The pumas were still there, and they were getting bolder. The escape, a race against time. Kwame grabbed the baby elephant by the ear and began leading it away from the clearing. The calf followed reluctantly, its tiny legs struggling to keep up. Behind them, the pumas let out low growls, their eyes fixed on their prey. Kwame knew they couldn't outrun the pumas. He had to find a way to lose them. He scanned the jungle, looking for anything that could help. Then he saw it. A narrow trail leading up a steep hill. If they could make it to the top, they might be able to lose the pumas in the dense foliage. "Come on, little one," Kwame said, urging the calf forward. "We're almost there." The climb was grueling, the hill was steep, and the baby elephant kept slipping on the loose soil. But Kwame didn't give up. He pushed on, his muscles burning with exertion. Behind them, the pumas were closing in, their growls growing louder. Finally, they reached the top of the hill. Kwame led the baby elephant into a thicket of bushes, where they crouched down, trying to catch their breath. The pumas circled the area, their noses twitching as they tried to pick up the scent, but the dense foliage worked in their favor. And after a few tense minutes, the pumas gave up and slunk away. The aftermath. A bond forms. Kwame let out a sigh of relief, his body trembling with exhaustion. The baby elephant nuzzled against him, its trunk wrapping around his arm. It was as if the calf knew that Kwame had saved its life. "You're safe now, little one," Kwame said, scratching the elephant behind the ears. "But we're not out of the woods yet." Kwame knew he couldn't leave the baby elephant alone. It was too young to survive on its own, and the jungle was full of dangers. He decided to take the calf back to his camp, where he could care for it until he found its herd. Over the next few days, Kwame and the baby elephant formed an unlikely bond. The calf, whom Kwame named Kofi, followed him everywhere, its playful antics bringing a smile to Kwame's face. The crew at the camp quickly fell in love with Kofi, and even the other animals seemed to accept him. But Kwame knew that Kofi belonged in the wild. He had to find the calf's herd, and soon. The twist, a shocking turn of events. One morning, as Kwame and Kofi were out foraging, they heard the distant sound of elephants trumpeting. Kwame's heart leapt with hope. It had to be Kofi's herd. But as they approached the sound, Kwame realized something was wrong. The elephants were in distress, their trumpets filled with panic. Kwame crept closer, his heart pounding in his chest. What he saw made his blood run cold. A group of poachers had surrounded the herd, their rifles aimed at the largest elephant, a massive bull with tusks that gleamed in the sunlight. The poachers were shouting, their voices filled with greed and cruelty. Kwame knew he had to act fast. He couldn't let the poachers kill the elephants, but he was outnumbered and outgunned. What could he do? Then he felt a nudge at his side. Kofi was looking at him, his eyes filled with determination. It was as if the calf was saying, "We have to help them." The final showdown, man and elephant against the world. Kwame and Kofi worked together to distract the poachers. Kwame used his knowledge of the jungle to create loud noises, mimicking the sounds of predators. Meanwhile, Kofi charged at the poachers, his tiny trunk raised in defiance. The poachers were caught off guard. They had expected the elephants to flee, not fight back. One by one, they dropped their weapons and ran into the jungle, their faces filled with fear. Kwame watched in awe as the herd surrounded Kofi, their trunks reaching out to touch him. It was clear that they recognized him as one of their own. The massive bull elephant let out a deep, rumbling trumpet as if to say, "Thank you." The legacy, a friendship for the ages. Kwame knew it was time to say goodbye. Kofi had found his family, and it was time for him to return to the wild. As the herd began to move away, Kofi turned to Kwame. His eyes filled with something that looked like gratitude. "Go on, little one," Kwame said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're home now." Kofi let out a soft trumpet before turning to follow the herd. Kwame watched until they disappeared into the jungle, his heart filled with a mix of sadness and pride. The story of Kwame and Kofi spread like wildfire, capturing the hearts of millions. People were amazed at how a man and a baby elephant had formed such an unlikely bond, and Kofi's bravery became the stuff of legend. Kwame continued his work in the jungle, his partnership with Kofi a testament to the power of compassion and courage. They became symbols of hope and resilience, inspiring others to stand up against cruelty and protect the innocent. And as the sun rose over the jungle the next morning, Kwame set off on his next adventure, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Because in the heart of the jungle, anything was possible.